So it's the very first day without honking, and I just wanted to give everybody just a little bit of a reality check, because if you've just been taking the easy route and listening to what, well, legacy media, I don't even want to call them mainstream anymore, because there's at least a dozen live streamers constantly covering what is going on down there in Ottawa, and as opposed to what CBC, CTV, all of the old outlets, what they're reporting, and what the likes of Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau were talking about in the House of Commons, which, yes, Trudeau finally peeked his head out from that cottage where he's been spending all of his quarantine, because my triple shots really did you well, now didn't it? But no, he came out and he had some wonderful things to say, and we'll get to those very shortly, because there's nothing I can say other than the fact that they're just evil, lying men at this point. There's no redeeming qualities from Jagmeet Singh and from Justin Trudeau. But let's start with the positive first and foremost, and a little bit of a recap on everything that we've talked about over the past little while, at least. Okay, like as you see here, we got the give, send, go up here first and foremost, because I think that that's important. And yeah, like every single time we hit refresh, and I'll just do it right now, and we'll just see it in real time right now, the number just keeps on going up, and I have no reason to believe by the time that this gets posted and everything gets all edited, and but if you guys take the time to go and take a look, even if you just want to see, okay, even if you don't want to donate or anything like that, that's totally fine, but just to see the support that's out there, every single time there's a new anonymous donation, there's a new $100 and some odd donation, okay, and everything just keeps on going up. So I have no reason to believe that it won't be somewhere in on or around $7 million by the time that this is up in a couple hours. So it's amazing to see. And as much as the federal government, the local government, the provincial government, okay, and the pressure from legacy media outlets continue to descend on this incredibly peaceful, incredibly loving protest that's going on right now, the more support the average person starts to manifest towards this. It's really gorgeous to see. And yeah, this was one of the first shoes to drop, even before Aaron O'Toole got ousted from the Conservative Party leadership. I'm pretty sure that was. And now we have a roadmap for Saskatchewan, at least. And Jason Kenney was talking about having something similar. He's the premier of Alberta, by the way, in case you guys aren't quite familiar with Canadian politics, which I don't blame you. It's a shit show. But Saskatchewan's premier, Scott Moe, he was the last one to put in any of these restrictions. He was the last holdout, okay? And he's the first one to lay out his plan. He's like, listen, okay, he has some capitulating remarks that are in here. He's like, yeah, okay, you might have stopped the transmission for a minute. And it's like, you take a look at some of the other studies that are out there, and it's like, well, maybe if you just had to answer and you had to look at some of the other reports that are starting to come out and starting to see the slow turning of what the experts are talking about. Now they're starting to come along for the ride of looking at the impact, okay, looking at public sentiment, and but regardless, we're finally entering that phase of things. And the Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe announced on earlier today, in fact, that the province will no longer require COVID-19 passports. Round of applause. They never should have been implemented to begin with, but can't go back in the past. And to be fair, he was the last guy who was out there just holding on strong, and he had to cave to the pressure of everybody else around him. I don't necessarily blame him, but he still instituted them. So always look at what the opposition is offering whenever the next election comes up in Saskatchewan. Passports will be dropped on Monday. Why not now, Scott? Why not now? Whereas the mask mandate will expire at the end of February. That's kind of what we're seeing in a bunch of other places, and we're going to do a more in-depth analysis on what's happening in the States in the next video, because there's been some shocking developments, to say the least, even over what happened yesterday with New Jersey and Delaware dropping their mask mandates. More baffling states, not in a bad way or anything like that. It's just for these states that come out of nowhere to announce it, that just, you know, if you're interested in that, just wait a couple of minutes. It'll probably be up. The new processor is a fucking beast, and it processes videos like nobody's business. So anyways, like I said to begin with, Trudeau finally came back from his cottage, and he had some remarks to make. None of them terribly intelligent, none of them terribly coherent with reality, but they're very, very Trudeauian. And like I mentioned, I'm pretty sure it was yesterday, but I was talking about listening to a whole host of podcasts that Jordan Peterson has been on recently, and he's been tearing a strip off of Trudeau, and it's been, like, he's never been a fan of Justin Trudeau to begin with. I don't know what he thinks of his old man, but considering he grew up in Fairview, which is about an hour and a half north of where I'm at, okay, and the general sentiment of Pierre Trudeau was that he tried to essentially, well, his national energy program essentially tried to kill off the western half of the country the first time around. I don't think that it's terribly high to begin with, but whatever. Dr. Peterson really despises Trudeau. Like, he said on one show that that Justin Trudeau appears to have never said a true word in front of a camera. Something to that effect. And it's like, wow, that's a pretty powerful thing to say. And it's not necessarily untrue. And the fact that what he repeated today, just his line and his unwillingness to reconcile with reality, it just bores that out even more firmly. Trudeau says Canada needs mandates to avoid further restrictions. What? We need restrictions to avoid restrictions. What? In response to calls for freedom. What? Okay, so in order to get your freedom back, we're going to need some mandates to avoid further mandates in order to give you back your free... What? Okay. Trudeau responded to a press conference held by a Liberal MP in which he was criticized for a lack of a clear way out of COVID restrictions. More on that in a moment, because that's very interesting as well as a divisive rhetoric used by members of his party, and also by him, but more on that in a moment. Trudeau said that he understood the frustrations with restrictions. Do ya? Or you're just paying lip service again? But we'll never really know because you got that beautiful black mask. Ones that, oddly enough, were worn by the counter-protesters in that very organic, very grassroots counter-protest that happened last Saturday in Ottawa. I'm just saying, nothing concrete to go on, but, you know. Trudeau said that he understands the frustrations with restrictions, and I think one of the things we all understand is just how frustrated everyone is. Really? I don't think you do, because you just keep lying, and that's mostly what the truckers and everybody else who supports the convoy and supports Canadians' right to freedom, you just keep labeling them extremists, and that's mostly why people are frustrated, okay? Because you just won't even engage in dialogue, which, if this was a year ago, your tune might have been different. Hell, if this was a week ago, your tune might have been different. We're all tired of restrictions, of mandates. Okay, guess who has the power to lift all of those? Just saying, if you're tired of them, because they've borne out to work ever so well, of having to make sacrifices, of not being able to do things we love, he said, acting like he doesn't have the power to reverse this in an instant. It's been 2 years, and if it's up to him, it'll be 2 more, and 2 after that. It's really tiring for all of us. This government has been focused every step of the way, following the best science, cherry-picking the best science, and the best public health advice to keep as many people safe as possible, and quite frankly, it has worked. It's worked so well that you have no clear path to ever lifting the restrictions, okay? All you do is just parrot the same line over and over again. Brock, safe and effective. Brock, get your vaccine. Brock, wear your mask. No coherent thought. No original idea ever passes through those vacant blue eyes. What else did he have to say in the House of Commons? Well, he went completely fucking bonkers. I seen that. I initially got very furious at his statements, but then I realized that, oh, this dude's like a professional liar, and he's just pushing the company line, and there's nothing there, okay? Trudeau made a public appearance after days away from the spotlight as the city of Ottawa remains gridlocked by protesters. Gridlock normally implies that you can't get anywhere, but if you've been watching the live streams of what's going down there, you'd realize that gridlock isn't what happened. Oh, okay, cool. I was watching Viva Fry's coverage. He was down there again today, and there was a police vehicle, and there was also, there were multiple police vehicles, obviously, but there was an active police officer, and there was an active fire truck that went through the downtown core completely and totally unimpeded, because there is always at least one lane open on every single road that's out there, okay? Well, I don't know what you're talking about really with gridlock, but whatever. But protesters calling for an end for federal COVID-19 mandates. Yeah, and that's all they're talking about because, oh yeah, Jagmeet's saying, okay, the leader of the NDP and somebody else who's going to be facing a similar fate to that of Aaron O'Toole, and hopefully enough, that motherfucker right there. Saying that, oh, the truckers' stated goal is overthrowing the government. You'd have to take some very abstract interpretations of what the stated goals of the Freedom Convoy is. But again, he's not about engaging in dialogue in good faith. He's about demonizing and just getting rid of the filth off of the streets. Because again, the NDP and the Liberal government, you take a look at the election map of the entire country, okay? And you realize that the people who have come down to Ottawa, they aren't the people who normally vote orange, or they aren't the people that normally vote red, okay? These are the conservative voters that are out there, the PPC voters that are out there, and they're finally coming to Ottawa, and you don't like what you see, because normally these people are just metropolitan dwellers, okay? They're just the big fancy building dwellers, and they don't like to see the filthy flannel-plated hillbillies with their unkempt beards. No, they just like their little manservants with nicely coiffed hair and a three-piece suit. God forbid there's an entire rest of the country out there that has maybe a couple of diverging opinions from you, but instead of engaging with them, which still haven't seen any politicians from either side of the aisle, okay? Any of the ones that are running for leadership of the Conservative Party, they haven't been out there. Maybe they're waiting for Saturday for everybody to turn up, okay? Just because the honking has ceased, the calls for freedom have not. You see the GoFundMe keep growing? We'll just go ahead and we'll just show you once again. Guess what? Still fucking growing. I will goddamn... Yep, up another 10,000, okay? Just in the time that we've been talking. The 13 minutes I've been recording so far, it's gone up $10,000. But what did Justin Trudeau have to say about these evil people, okay? The evil truckers that are down there who, once again, he has no idea what they're about. But he'll just go ahead and paint them as some of the worst people who have ever lived. All right, individuals are trying to blockade our economy, our democracy, and they're called the Liberal Party of Canada. Oh, wait, and our fellow citizens' daily lives. It has to stop. I agree. You should resign because you're doing all of those things, man, with zero self-awareness. During an emergency debate that was called by New Democratic leader Jagmeet Singh earlier on Monday, individuals are trying to blockade our economy, our democracy. Whenever you see that, it's always said by somebody who is acting in bad faith. Fucking find me an example of somebody who has unironically used that term. And our fellow citizens' daily lives, and it has to stop. You haven't talked to any of these people. All you do is just sit on Twitter. You've done this one fucking stunt in the House of Commons, and haven't seen anything outside of that. So, again, no, you know what fellow citizens are talking about. Unlike Viva, unlike dozens of other live streamers who have thousands of people watching the streams at any given fucking time, talking to the actual people that are down there, the people that live in the surrounding communities of Ottawa, people from all across the country. There were two people that were from Alberta that Viva specifically talked to as well, okay? And that there are also people that live really close to the epicenter of this protest going on. And what was their response to the incessant honking that was happening all the time? Both of these people, at different points in the just about 4 hour long stream, okay, came across each other at different points on different streets. There's no way that it could have been a coordinated effort, but they were saying that no, the honking didn't go all the way through the night, and they were within a stone's throw of living, okay, within the Parliament building. And the latest that had ever occurred, one person said 10 o'clock, okay, during the week, and another person said at best 11 o'clock, maybe, and it was on a Saturday. Outside of that, nothing. And they are, what, literally the other side of the Parliament building. They would have been able to hear it. They didn't hear a fucking thing. And that's been the thread going through this protest the entire time. People that live in the area just say, no, haven't really heard any of this stuff, so I don't really know what they're talking about. And yeah, there was another lady. Okay, so I guess there were three people that were really close to Ottawa or rather the protest zone itself. And she's like, yeah, no, I live in an apartment building, and there's overwhelming support from that apartment building. No way to verify that, no way to check it, but that's a little bit more reliable than Captain Ivory Tower. What else did he have to say? People of Ottawa don't deserve to be harassed in their own neighborhoods. Nobody's going into the neighborhoods. What are you talking about? Or deserve to be confronted by the inherent violence of a swastika on the street corner or a Confederate flag. Well, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't send your puppets in there. Or the insults and jeers just because they're wearing a flag. Oh, I don't see anybody who's quote-unquote counter-protesting carrying the Canadian flag. The people who are carrying the Canadian flag, they're getting harassed by the likes of you and nobody else and your Confederate flag. One instance by a guy who was, if you recall, wearing a balaclava and had fucking sunglasses on. Okay, you couldn't make him out at all whatsoever. And he was asked to drop the flag, which, again, a Confederate flag for the Confederate side of the Civil War in the United States, a different fucking country. What does it mean to Canadians exactly? Nothing really. And a swastika. Really? Really? Okay. A brand new swastika flag. I showed you the picture, okay? And that was what? The first Saturday? One instance. That's it. But no, they're constantly being just paraded around everywhere. And yeah, no, it can keep on making the fucking media rounds because they'll just keep on showing the same image and they'll just keep telling you that, oh, these are the type of people that are down there. And then you go and you take a look at the pictures and the people that are down there, and that's just not the case. But yeah, no, listen to your leaders. Listen to the CBC. Listen to the CTV. Listen to all of the legacy outlets, and they'll just keep on repeating the same talking points from Trudeau. Anyways, yeah, so a little bit more on this before I fucking pop a blood vessel. Or the insults and jeers just because they're wearing a flag. That's not who Canada or Canadians are. And that's not what Canadians have demonstrated over the past 2 years. They've demonstrated what I've told them to from the comfort, or rather the confinement, of their own home. During the emergency debate on the protest outside the Parliament, Trudeau isn't trying to calm the situation at all. He and his ministers are pouring gas on the fire, which you're not allowed to bring in. Conflicting reports on that. The line is, oh, you're not supposed to be aiding the truckers, but as we're going to see here, the Daily Mail has a very nice, very concise article. If you just kind of want to stop here, it'll be, what, the first Daily Mail, the only Daily Mail article that's going to be in this video. If you just want to read through this, I don't blame you. It's a big, long article, and it's going to go through most of the stuff that we talk about here anyways, but I just wanted to show you the pretty pictures and a couple of the little bullet points that they have here. Trudeau is being accused of blockading Canada's democracy and stoking division and branding the anti-mandate protests of the Freedom Convoy swastika waivers after weeks-long demonstrations paralyzed the capital city and spread to the busiest border crossing between the United States and Canada. Oh, another thing about that, yeah, more protests a la the one that's happening in Coates, I think Coates, Coutts, C-O-U-T-T-S, right at the border in Alberta. They're springing up, and it's going to the one where a lot of people, okay, like if you lived in Ontario and you ever made trips across the border to different parts of Michigan, you took that border crossing, and guess what? It's getting locked down too. Ooh, you love to see it. Oh, it's just wonderful. Oh, Prime Minister on Monday, said that protests are trying to blockade our economy and our democracy, with once again displaying zero self-awareness. And yeah, like we need to go over that stuff again. Anyways, on Monday, the Ambassador Bridge, the busiest border crossing between the United States and Canada, had become partially blocked by truckers. Again, this is the gridlock partially blocking, by the way, okay? As you can see, a lot of people turned out the bridge, which normally traveled by approximately 8,000 big rigs and 68,000 travelers daily, remained closed on the U.S. side Tuesday morning. We don't know necessarily if that's from the convoy or if that's from the response from border crossing itself, if they've closed it off. It's really tough to tell, especially just in the pictures, and I can't trust any of the reporting that's come out of that. Unless I see it with my eyes, I can't verify it, I can't quantify any of this shit. None of it fucking makes sense anymore, and this is where we're at in apparently a first world country. But yes, it remained closed Tuesday morning, according to reports, and Michigan... Oh, according to Michigan Department of Transportation, so it could have been them. And of course, that's at the beck and call of Gretchen Whitmer, where if there's any opportunity to shit on citizens, you know that bitch is going to be taking it. But as you can see, yeah, that's what's happening right there. I'd imagine that's, well, it says University of Windsor there. So you'd have to think this is on the Canadian side of the border. Yeah, it's got the .ca, so obviously the Canadian side. And yeah, no, there's still lanes open. It looks like trucks are rolling, except for that one, unless he's lane changing, but that's fine. And then you got another shot of this a little bit farther down. Okay, so on the other side of the intersection, and oh, there's guys just with all of their evil imagery of Canadian flags, and that's about it, really. I don't see anything too frightening there. Oh, a couple of American flags. Okay, and there's a blue flag, and it's got a message of something. But yeah, no, definitely big scary. Lines just keep on going for a very long time. Obviously, yeah, a couple more trucks. Well, couple's kind of underselling it, don't you agree? But that's a picture from Windsor Police, even though that picture there looks to be just a touch out of date, if you can tell by the foliage in the background and the lack of the snow or ice on just the shoulders of the road, which that's today. And as you can see in the city proper, there's still, you know, snow on the sides. So I don't necessarily know if that's an accurate representation of the facts, but that's a picture that they're using. I would just say, you know what, if you just want to compare and contrast the two. Overcast day, blue skies. Again, shit doesn't really line up, but there's another picture that looks to be on the road itself, and boy, those are a lot of rigs on the road. But I guess, yeah, this started up yesterday evening. As you can see, wow, there's a lot of trucks there, and yeah, you just want to make sure that you take her easy when you're on the road there. Keep the shiny side up, boys. But yeah, there's a nice graphic representation of things. US to Canada, temporarily closed, again, by who knows, really? Is it by the trucks itself? Don't really know. And then Canada to the United States, if you want to flee this quasi-socialist hellhole, which looks to be turning around, maybe potentially. One lane is opened as of Tuesday morning. It could have changed by now. Don't really know. Don't really care. Just keep up the good work, boys. But I wanted to show you pictures of what's actually going down there. And I would kind of contest this as well, because again, like I said, I've watched a bunch of these live streams, and most of the time has been spent on Viva Fries because it's very entertaining. It's 4 hours that just flies by because he's a very engaging guy, and he does a great job just at eliciting interviews from random people on the street, which normally nauseates me, but he's just a very likable guy, and you can just kind of get a decent conversation under just about anybody. But again, I haven't seen any explicitly vulgar language on any of the vehicles that are there, so I could imagine, okay, they have that censored there. And this article, I've read through a lot of it. It seems to be fairly even-handed on its reporting, but I would just say that cardboard cutout right there, and that one looks like something that I would have seen on somebody's live stream. So it could say fuck, but it could also be like every other quasi-protest sign to Trudeau as well. Being from Northern Alberta, you've seen them for, well, since about 2015 anyway, since he ascended to his throne. He FU and then censored CK or F censored CK. Again, we don't really know, but it's been, blocked out as well. And then, yeah, that's a lot more common with the different signs that are out there. Freedom Convoy mandates are enforced like a law, but are not the law. COVID ads are harassment. Yeah, fair enough. And then it's weird, right? Because we've been inundated with grassroots peaceful protests for a while with the oddly uniform signs. It's just weird to see like a different side of the protests when you have legitimate signs that are out there, either on cardboard or on Bristol board. True always win. Honor soldiers dead for your freedom. 1939, 1945. Remember, we are here for the freedom of your children. Officer or official, something like that. But yeah, no, that's not uncommon as well. And then also, whenever you hear or you see interview with one of the truckers in the rigs themselves, they have all of these letters from the people who are supportive about it, and it's really touching to see. And It's a legitimate grassroots effort, and this isn't a a fringe minority of people with unacceptable views. It's really starting to look like at least 50-50 at this point, if not better than that. I can't quantify any of that, but still. Things that are also popping up as well that we don't need to talk about. Like I said, they're, well, in specific articles, but we will here for the sake of what's going on. Like I said, there were little protests that were sprinkling up again across Canada during the middle of the week, which is amazing as well. But there's another one that's happening in New Zealand against a similar type of dictator. Okay, the more masculine Trudeau, Jacinda Ardern, she's down there, and yeah, they're doing their own little trucker convoy. As you can see, we got some pictures of guys rolling down there, and they're sick of all of that stuff, but we're gonna have to do a little bit more of a deep dive on her. And yeah, last time we talked about her, she was being less sympathetic than the fucking Taliban, which is impressive, but she is very terrible. Political language is designed to make lies sound truthful, based no more bullshit, mandates, pro-choice, take back our rights, Tino, name, okay, obviously. And as you can see, yeah, the very, very white supremacy right there, obviously, sure. But yeah, these are more shots from down at the protests themselves, the protest proper, and not necessarily sure when any of these pictures were taken, if this was before or after the supposed secession of helping out any of the truckers for their unlawful protests. And we're going to see what the mainstream media has been running with, because, oh boy, if you thought your head was spinning after what Trudeau had to say, just stay tuned for that one. But yeah, there's been reports that some of the cops are stopping fuel cans coming in, which is retarded anyways, but then other ones are like, yeah, no, you probably shouldn't, and we can't really take that away from you, which, again, these ordinances based on the state of emergency, very nebulous in their enforcement capabilities, so they can deter you from bringing in fuel, but they can't really snatch it up, you can't really confiscate it. So again, they're getting supplies trickled in, and it's great to see. It still is great to see. And this is more just what's going on. As you can see, are the police getting harassed? Does anybody see any swastika flags that are out there? Again, this could be from today, because it seemed, at least on some of the live streams, that it was nice and sunny there. But yeah, you got diesel cans over there, just fueling up different rigs that are right down there in the heart of things. And yeah, you got cops walking around, nobody's harassing them again, and they aren't really doing anything. And again, yeah, oh no, they're well represented, and they're taking their jobs very seriously, some more serious than others. But this was one of those things that was happening, I think, Sunday night before the order went into place. And outside of that one instance, I haven't really seen anything. All you've heard is just anecdotes of, yeah, the cops are confiscating it, but all of these jugs are also ready for deployment. So it just kind of leads me to believe, I don't really know for sure. Maybe they're just open, empty jerry cans. Not entirely sure. But then at the same time, yeah, you got more people just showing up with diesel cans, which again, if you're going to be filling up trucks for sure, you're going to need a whole hell of a lot of that. But yeah, again, all of these, as you can see, there's just a stunning amount of swastikas and Confederate flags being shown again. But yeah, no, this is that famous video from, I'm pretty sure it was Sunday night, but outside of that, I haven't seen anything else. But that's Canada. Okay, and this is where the convoy originated, right there over at the tip of BC. Another group of truckers apparently started up in Vancouver, and then they ended up converging right there on the Trans-Canada Highway, right there in Calgary. And I'm right up here, in case you guys are wondering. Oh, I don't have the cursor. Oh, god damn it. Okay, you see, okay, there's an arrow right here in Alberta. Alberta's the second province over. And actually, it's just better to see this picture right here. Just south of that truck, it's just about where I'm at, okay? Just a cursor length down, if you're unfamiliar with the geography of Canada. But that's me, Grand Prairie, right up there. And right there at the bottom of Alberta, since we got everybody's attention, right about at the middle, at the bottom, right there at the United States border, that's where the Couts blockade convoy, the little party, is happening as well. And no indication that that one's been broken up or anything. Mostly just seems like everybody's just holding their ground on this one, which you love to see. And some more developments on Parliament Hill, okay? A Liberal MP breaks ranks, calls out Trudeau's easy and absurd smearing of freedom protesters. Didn't anticipate that one No, and especially who spoke out, okay? Because I haven't heard of Liberal MP Joel Lightbound. He represents a southern district of Quebec City, which is odd because they also have just a general predilection of fuck the federal government for different reasons than Albertans would, but strange time, call for strange bedfellows, and that's totally fine, but he had a surprisingly based take on this. So he spoke out on Tuesday, calling for the party to give a roadmap to get Canada out of COVID restrictions. Lightbound said that it was time to review vaccine mandates and vaccine passports, as well as travel bans, adding also that it was time for the trucker convoy to move out of the city of Ottawa's downtown core and perhaps protest elsewhere. No, we like the first half of what you said there, Joel, but this still, okay, because there's been uniformity in the NDP and in the Liberal government as well. There's been a fracturation, because if you remember, it wasn't a unanimous vote to get rid of Aaron O'Toole. It was, 45-ish MPs still stood on the sidelines because, I don't know, they think the political future is a center-left proposition, okay, being the least left political party, instead of being, the center-right, right-leaning opposition that you're supposed to be. But whatever. They need to start coming out and they need to start voicing their actual opposition to Trudeau at the protests themselves, because maybe they're waiting for the weekend. Okay, I'll give them a little bit of deference there, but you gotta fucking make a change here soon, because there's a lot of political capital being left on the ground, just saying. And at least this guy is starting to see, okay, this Joel Lightbound, starting to see that there could be a little bit of a political gain to be had here, because maybe he's starting to see the end of this and realizing that, the truckers, should probably leave, okay. But you know what, at the same time, he kind of thinks that this is going to end in a catastrophic disaster for his party. Maybe there's an opportunity, okay, or he'd be able to see that there might be a light at the end of this political tunnel for him. If he voices like, I was supportive of your guys' cause. Yeah, sure, I called for you guys to leave, but just remember the fact that, I was a Liberal MP, and some people want to lifting the mandates. No, I totally get it. That's fine. And statements like this, where it's fine that he's voicing his concerns because he's at least seeing what's going on there. I'd wonder if he's actually, wandered out there and seen the sights, because shit like this isn't reported by the media. Just saying. Speaking of the protesters, Lightbound said that he condemned all displays of hate that have occurred during the protest. I agree. All of those manufactured instances of hate, because so far there hasn't been anything actually going on the ground, but whatever. But has since seen a diverse array of people, including blacks, Sikhs, indigenous people. A lot of natives have been down there. A fucking ton. Lightbound said that he would avoid using easy and absurd labels to generalize the group. It's time we stop dividing people, pitting people against each other. The tone and policies of my government have changed since the election. Now the approach stigmatizes and divides people. As based as a Liberal can get. Lightbound added that he is not the only person uncomfortable with the Trudeau's Liberal handling of the situation. Oh, really? Tell us more. And even went so far as to say that his government was using health mandates and restrictions to wedge and stigmatize those who are not submitting to mandates. Again, most on-point idiot in the room. I appreciate that. Lightbound said he was ready to accept the consequences, if any, that will come from speaking out against the party line. Oh, no. I think you probably motivated more people within the party being like, okay, we got it. We're eventually going to have to win another election, okay? And as tenuous as our support is growing in places like Toronto, literally the only place that a Liberal can get elected outside of a couple of fringe places in Quebec as well. He won his riding in southern Quebec, but the rest of the city, the rest of Quebec, overwhelmingly voted for the Bloc Québécois. So, again, he's like, listen, I got to listen to the people who just constantly want to fuck over the federal government. So it's like, hey, we should probably reevaluate this, please, because I'd really like to, keep my job in the House of Commons. Just saying. And what happened to this whole thing where we're supposed to be elected representatives as a mouthpiece of our constituents? You know what? I'm listening to the people and what they want. And you see the protests, especially a huge one in Quebec City, where they're like, we kind of like this whole idea of Canada and we like this whole idea of freedom. So if you just want to go ahead and you want to vocalize that, that'd be great. Okay, thanks, Joel. Bye. We need to reevaluate all the measures. It's essentially my whole point that I think we need to have a clear roadmap for when restrictions will be lifted. Yeah, exactly. Tomorrow could work. Can you pencil that in? And this roadmap must take into account what we've seen with the World Health Organization's recommendations. Do we have to? What other countries are doing? Yeah, like the UK, like Denmark, like a lot of states down south. It's essential for Canadians to have an understanding of where we're heading and under what conditions and circumstances measures will be lifted, he said. Yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, I think we talked about this yesterday, and the way that we end capped the video as well was the Jeep of Peace in Winnipeg, and we didn't really know a whole lot about the suspect, but every fucking time, dude, every fucking time. Far-left activist identified as suspect in Canada protest hit and run. No shit. Winnipeg police have identified far-left activist David Alexander Zegarak as the driver accused of running down 4 anti-mandate protesters on Friday. Zegarak, sure. 42 was arrested Friday at around 10:30 p.m. after a Jeep struck a group of 4 protesters at Winnipeg's Memorial Boulevard around 9:30 p.m. Authorities temporarily hospitalized one of the injured protesters while 3 others suffered minor injuries as a result of the incident. The assembly was a peaceful protest against civil rights restrictions imposed in Canada, the name of stopping the Coof, obviously. Police initially refused to comment on the identity of the driver because it was a little uncomfortable for them. But later stated that 42-year-old Zegarak would be looking at various charges, including 4 counts of assault with a weapon, a car in this instance, intending to use it for violent purposes, failing to stop at the scene of an accident, ergo the hit and run, and dangerous operation of a motor vehicle. Does that seem a little bit redundant? But okay, whatever, that's fine. According to the report from the Winnipeg Free Press, Zegarak has a history in Winnipeg's punk music scene as part of a political punk group, Brat Attack. Normal, if this was like the 1970s and it was a political punk group, you wouldn't need the political affectation on that, mostly because the punk groups used to be about fuck authority, but now it's have authority fuck us, whose lyrics feature far left and anti-conservative themes. No, I'm so shocked. Conservative outlet Rebel News reported the group's songs is directed at former Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper, the last good Prime Minister. I'd imagine that. And is entitled, "Hey Harper, you anti-choice homophobic fuck, die, die, die." I wonder what that's about. Its lyrics include, "Fuck you, Mr. Stephen Harper, you fascist white bread Bible thumper. It's not okay to be anti-gay. I think Mr. Homophobe needs some dick today." I think he had a Richard in the cabinet, and I'm not entirely sure. A 2008 profile of the man who fits Zegarak's description, same name, founder of Brat Attack, apropos naming, Winnipeg resident, reportedly formed an anarchist activist group while living in St. John's in the province of... a whiny newfie. Why am I not surprised again? In an effort to use music and other methods to spread far-left ideology. You know what's even sadder? This dude's 42 and he's still making punk music? What a bitch. Punk has been commercialized for at least a decade and a half, and at least a decade by the time 2008 rolled around. Remember when the hip thing to do in punk music was wear shirts that were like "kill a commie for mommy"? Thanks to Ramones. Police have not confirmed any potential motives. Oh, really? I'm just... baffled by that, but still. Constable Rob Carver told the reporters on Saturday that some comments were made by the accused that tends to suggest that this was not specifically about vaccine mandates. He just thought he seen Stephen Harper down there in Winnipeg when he lives in Calgary. Anyways, but again, the questions that Rob Carver and the like were probably asking was, were you down there to support those evil people with their 18-wheelers? So again, are we going to know totally? No, this will probably just end up, oh yeah, he'll get charged with all this stuff and it'll just magically go away because the prosecutors up here in Canada in these big cities mostly just like to plead stuff out anyway. So we'll see. We'll see if there's anything on this. Once again, these videos are just so massive just because everything just continues to happen day after day that just requires reporting. But here's a little taste of what the mainstream media is all about. Like we talked about CBC last week, okay, specifically from them. And then, well, just the outright media blackout of the incredibly well-attended and the incredibly peaceful protest on Saturday. But What's happening right now after a state of emergency? Well, the city of Ottawa wants more help to take back the streets from convoy protests because the truckers are like, yeah, no, we're not moving. They're like, why won't you move? And it's like, well, because we're not going anywhere until the mandates disappear. Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson is appealing to the federal and provincial governments to send nearly 2,000 additional police officers to combat what he describes as widespread lawlessness at a local police have not managed to curb as street protests against pandemic restrictions continue to occupy the city center. That's why I showed everybody pictures to begin with. Did that look like it was overwhelming occupation? It looked like things were still being allowed to continue. Was travel still permitted? Was there any violence that was happening? Were there any vile images, being displayed? No. Unless, of course, you're just so triggered by the word fuck written on one truck. Maybe. I don't really know. Also on Monday, an Ontario Superior Court justice granted 10-day injunction against loud honking from many large vehicle protesters have brought into the city. And again, I tried to find more information on this injunction that was granted. It's like, is it an outright injunction on honking? Is it an outright injunction on just the trunk or the truck's air horns? Like, how wide reaching is this? Honking in general, or specific honking from out of province plates, very odd. It's very odd. The mayor added that 1,800 additional police personnel are required to quell the insurrection. There's the word conflating, because everything up to right now has been the occupation of the downtown core, and then of course the allegories have been made between January 6th, the violent and riotous insurrection. And now Canada has their own, because that's what the mayor of Ottawa is talking about. Good old Jim Watson. I hope Trudeau gave you a Scooby snack and a nice little pat on the head for just working that stuff in there. The Ottawa police services are not able to contain. Again, the police just look overrun, like, oh my God, they're just marching in formation and they're just getting harassed all the time. They definitely look like they're being overrun. Okay. Including 1,000 regular officers, 600 public order officers, 100 investigative officers, and 100 civilian staff. Well, why? Because the rest of the men that are working are going to need some fluffers. I don't really know what the civilian staff is going to offer, because there's plenty of food down there. Like, everybody's being taken care of, but whatever. He also requested supporting resources. Here's another one as well, such as cyber investigative capacity, digital and social media forensics, and financial forensics, because they want to shut down the GoFundMe. Or not the GoFundMe, but the Give, Send, Go. Because fuck GoFundMe, because, hey, since we're back here again, let's just update it again to just make sure that, up just about another 100,000 over that, half an hour that we've been talking as well. They're just big mad that they can actually fundraise, and the people don't actually support this just outlandish take on things. But I won't read through all of this because I value your guys' IQ as well as mine, but close to the end of this, they asked Regina Bateson, an assistant professor at the Graduate School of Public and International Affairs at the University of Ottawa. I've also heard from many students and people that attended and currently attend U of O that were interviewed on the street as well, and they're very much in the affirmative for the protest. But yeah, no, here's one of the intellectuals, one of the ruling elite, what their take on this is. Said that the longer the group of protesters are in Ottawa together, the more organized they will become. The longer this goes on, the more the folks who are left are quite determined and quite committed. No, they have been the entire time, And even though you continue to try to freeze them, starve them, and demoralize them, they're not going anywhere. So you guys are actually doing this to yourself. But Assistant Professor Bateman, let's not try to elevate this cunt any higher than she thinks that she already is, said that while the public has been surprised to see the protesters doing things such as lighting fireworks. Oh, really? Can you cite any of those? Lighting fireworks. Oh, okay. And bringing bouncy castles. Again, a terrible insurrection when you have fucking inflatables for, all of those evil insurrectionists to that play on. Yeah. It is normal for people to celebrate after they succeed at something. These people have succeeded in taking over downtown Ottawa, which looked so busy and bustling beforehand, because as you know, most of the people that work in those big business buildings, guess what? they've been working at home for the past 2 years anyway, so is it really taking over something that's not being occupied? Wouldn't you normally be in the affirmative for squatters' rights there, stupid Bateman, or Bateson, whatever? Fucking continue some, or consider some masturbating. Maybe you'd be a little less uptight. I saw the dancing in the streets. Get this one. This is why I had to fucking talk about this, okay? I saw the dancing in the streets is very similar to people goofing around and taking pictures and sitting in the speaker's chair after they took over the U.S. Capitol. Singing and dancing. Allegoricus to an insurrection. And I'm not even conceding that ground. But this is her fucking warped concept of reality. As she said in reference to the January 6th insurrection. Okay. You know, that insurrection. The insurrection of unarmed protesters who just showed up. And how many guns were seized at the Capitol? And they overtook the Capitol without force. And they left when they were just asked to leave. Okay. She said in reference, yeah. Okay, demonstrators have now solidified relationships with each other, and that's a bad thing. We should just separate them and segregate them from society and send them to places like Siberia. And we should just treat them all like this elderly man. Literally, he's 78 years old. And I'm not going to play any of the audio, mostly because it's just kind of irrelevant, but apparently, allegedly, and I saved you guys the first 2 minutes of this anyways, because it just really doesn't matter. You can watch it, okay? Obviously, I'll be linking this as well, but you have this cop thinking that he's being fucking Wonder Cop, and he's got this tiny little guy, under 5 feet tall, okay? Pulled him over for honking, okay? Apparently. And he says that the constable here thinks that he needs to, I don't know, cite the driver of this vehicle. It basically has big man syndrome. But I'm just going to let this play in the background because apparently the little dude there, he keeps his identification in the back of his vehicle, which is fine, whatever. Okay, so he's getting his wallet out and he's going to show and he's going to identify himself to the police officer as well. And then, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and maybe speed this up a little bit. But no, actually, we're just going to let it play here for a moment. And yeah, as you can see for yourself, things are probably going to end up taking a turn for the worst. Yep, and there it is there. He's just, once again, going to his vehicle, and obviously this seems to be incredibly necessary because, yeah, he was honking, you guys. So, yeah, he's going to place him under arrest because a 78-year-old man requires such restraint because reasons? I know there's a lot of good cops that are down there. Okay, there's a lot of cops that are just kind of like, yeah, I'm just here mostly because if I wasn't here, somebody who might be more devout to the cause might be down here instead of me. A lot of people are just kind of turning a blind eye to this. Okay, not really enforcing any of these just retarded on the whim mandates that are happening. But then you got super cops here who think that, oh, anybody who's honking, I need to go ahead and arrest them and put them, you know, in restraints. So if you're looking for actual violence going down in Ottawa, I'm not even sure if he was even, you know, associated with the protest, but there you go. There's some of it. I wonder if Trudeau will talk about that. Not likely, but again, just more pictures of what's going on down there. It's just these evil swastika waving truckers with all of their Confederate flags and just all their smiling and peace signs, and the trucks on a bright, shiny day with all of their evil insurrectionist signs and donating money and Tim Hortons and smiling people. It's really just a terrible time to be down there with all of that hate that's being bred, and they're going to be there for a while. They're going to be in there for the long haul, and I can appreciate that. Just like what happened at Couts last weekend when, I guess, maybe the local government called up some towing companies and just said, oh, get these fucking truckers out of here. We're just tired of seeing them. They're blocking the border. Insurrection. Well, it looks like there's a little bit of a flu going on within the towing business in Ottawa because towing companies are refusing to haul away Freedom Convoy trucks, according to the city manager, who's probably big sad about this. A tow truck operator all tow truck operators on contract with the City of Ottawa have refused to remove the heavy vehicles associated with the Freedom Convoy from the downtown core, the city manager says. Steve Kaliankos says the consensus seems to be that many companies don't want to do the work because the heavy truck industry is such a large part of their livelihoods and they don't want to damage as part of their business. Yeah. Exactly. And again, where are you going to take all of these vehicles, and how, if you were just going to start confiscating these vehicles for reasons, where would you put them? Again, I'd imagine you guys probably have fairly big impound yards, but that big, there's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of vehicles down there right now. I would err on the side of thousands, honestly, but you're going to need flatbed after flatbed, and honestly, it would probably take a week moving vehicles just to get them out there. And again, they know that, yeah, if they can continue to force these mandates, tow truck drivers, they're probably on those lists as well. So you think that they're going to be sympathetic to those calls? I don't think so. Yeah, I was going to have another article there, but I know this video is running long again, and I don't intend for this, but there's just so much shit to cover, and I don't know why I'm apologizing. It's my fucking video anyways, and if you guys don't want to watch it and you don't click on it anyways, you would have made it this far to begin with. But really, okay, the overwhelming support is on one side of this issue. That's the freedom side, because it should be, okay? I've tried to put myself in the shoes of the other side of this, okay, what their justification is, and I don't come up with anything outside of just a emotional argument. There's nothing logical about this, okay? What do they want? More government control, less autonomy in their life? Okay, feel free to live that way, okay? If you want to continue to just follow the science, follow the experts, if you think that a purely logical, purely scientific community would somehow become and just usher in the utopia, well, just take a look at how we've all been living over the past 2 years, just cooped up in our homes. I'm sure you probably had a very prosperous life just living with your 9 cats, okay? It's like you had any friends to begin with, and you had a lot of time for Reddit and Twitter. I'm sure you had a wonderful time, okay? But there's a bunch of other people that are out here. We just want to get back to regular life. Like, I'd like to go down to the pool. I haven't been swimming in a very long time, and I've wanted to do that for a while, but either the pools have been closed or there's been vaccine passports needed in order to go to the fucking local pool, which is big gay, but this is where we're at right now. This summer, I would love to go down to the pool. I would love to just be able to go wherever the fuck I want, because we're apparently is supposed to be a free fucking nation. And a lot of people, I think, are thinking like I am. Freedom Convoy trucker organizers, words are hard, say they are receiving overwhelming support. Yeah, and again, it just as one metric, once again, give, send, go, it's probably going to be close to, yep, another 10,000. And again, you can share it however you want. And again, we're just flying by the seat of our pants. But like I said, it's going to be up and or around 7 million by the time that this all goes up. But 6.7 has gone up, what, just about 750,000 throughout the entirety of this video here. But just to end on this, coordinators for the Canadian Freedom Convoy 2022, Benjamin Dichter, and one of the organizers behind the U.S. truck Convoy to Save America, Denby Militia Morgan. One of those names is a real name. The rest of them I just refuse to believe that are actual things. So they have been overwhelmed by people's support for their efforts to end mandates and restore personal liberties. The response has been amazing and overwhelming, and something I never would have thought I would have experienced in Canada. The amount of support and unity amongst the people, Dichter told as Cindy Drukier. Truckers are demanding an end to vaccine pass mandates and the passport phone application being required by the Canadian government. Thousands of truckers from Canada converged on the Ottawa capital on January 29th. And just like Justin Trudeau, they don't necessarily have a roadmap as to when they're going to be leaving or when they're going to be lifting their protest. It's pretty simple, though. They have one thing, just like you, Trudeau, that could just end all of this stuff. Just say, hey, it's all gone. But at this point, and the amount of disparaging comments that you've made, yeah, you could probably go ahead and clean out your office too. And it looks like if Lightford is any instance and is any indication as to the future of your party and your specific political movement, it looks like there's going to be some trouble in paradise, because somebody smells some blood in the political waters. And I just underestimated the amount of political turbulence that has been drum up by this, and just the political greed that's out there in order to just work your way up the ladder of politics. It's a dirty business, but thankfully it actually might work in one direction, It desperately needs to right now. Clean out that old regime. It's finally time for a change, okay? Enough of this Trudeau movement. He's had 7 years at this point, just about 7 years at the end of the year. And what has he wrought so far? We'll break it down at some point in the future, but nothing's really gotten better under his rule. So this is the opportunity for some massive change. But until tomorrow, which I'm sure there's going to be more information come out over the next few hours anyways, but as of right now, I think you guys are up to date in another just about hour-long video. But with that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. Why don't you follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.